I'm back, baby. Woo! Yes, it's true. I have returned. I am quarantined in my house on Long Island, so because of that, we're going to do a couple of music reviews. For those of you who don't know, the IMO Reviews channel ended up being an Instagram page that I was doing for a while. That's IMO.reviews on Instagram. If you want to follow that, I do have some written out album reviews there because I was very busy with the job. But since COVID-19 happened and I was a travel sales agent, you can imagine why I'm no longer working at that office. Because no one is booking cruises. So anyway, now I'm back in my home. Um, I'm here to do some music reviews. Today we're going to talk about Joyner Lucas's ADHD project. Joyner Lucas is a rapper who has a very promising future right now. A lot of cosigns from artists like Nas, Busta Rhymes, Eminem, and even recently celebrities such as Will Smith and LeBron James. It seems like he has a very bright future in hip hop as a lyricist, as someone who is capable of making catchy yet thought-provoking songs. And we've seen this with songs like I Am Not a Racist, as well as Keep It 100, where he's able to paint a picture of a very good thematic story that sticks to its themes, sticks to its plot, and is very intelligent and provoking as a song and proves that he can be as a lyricist. So, with ADHD, however, it seems like he doesn't have all that much to say, to be completely honest. Despite me really wanting to like this album and really wanting me to hear him say a lot about ADHD. And I first noticed this on the first skit of the album, which is titled Screening Evaluation. Basically, it's kind of like what Tyler the Creator did with Dr. T, and how there was on the album Bastard, and how there was a whole therapeutic session that he recorded as if it was two different people. So Joyner kind of does this here, but he's being tested for ADHD, being screened or to see if he has that. But he starts saying things like he sees an ink blob of a butterfly, of television, a basketball, and that's all good and dandy. And the guy's like, "Oh, you're so smart, Joyner. You're such an amazing young boy." But then once he says things like a condom, or like he sees a pistol. The guy, I swear to God, starts saying, "What are you, fucking retarded? What are you, mentally challenged?" And like, I'm sitting here like, what kind of doctor would really say this? So it just seems already like he's having this very inaccurate picture of ADHD and the studies behind it. But despite that kind of iffy, shady intro, I did very much like the first few tracks here, the first three, and they really seemed to spark my interest in what the album could do. For example, the intro, I Lied, is a track about how Joyner Lucas was jobless, he was down on his luck, he had a lot of things go the wrong way in his early life with his family, with his financial earnings and such. But he's saying how now that he's earning all this money, despite what he once said about staying true to himself, he's lied and is kind of getting lost and letting the profits change him. Which I think that he paints a very good picture of how greed could do that within these lyrics. The beat sounds aggressive as hell, as well as Joyner on the hook, as well as the flows he hits in the verses. But he also talks about how, despite having all this, he still feels a bit depressed. So I think that it's a very good perspective to take on it, especially considering where Joyner was and where he is now. The second track was a single called Isis, which also featured Logic, which I was interested in because, being a Tech 9 fan and a fan of the song Sriracha, I knew they had beef for quite some time because of that song. So this collaboration caught me by surprise a bit. However, it turned out to be one of the best ones on the album. Now, I like how the intro and the pre-chorus and the interludes and the bridges within the song all kind of have it's almost like a robot monitor talking about ADHD and different facts about it. And I looked it up, and these are actual facts about ADHD. So I'm kind of thinking, okay, maybe he's going to take this album in a direction where it more accurately paints the picture of what it's like to have ADHD. Unlike the intro with that insane doctor who sounded like he really didn't have a degree in any kind of mental health counseling at all, or psychology. The verses from Joyner and Logic all have incredibly fast flows, all have a lot of energy, a lot of aggression. I very much like the staccato sounding organ synths on this track. It sounds almost like lightning is just hitting the 808s and the trap drums within it. It's very hyper. It's very good as a second song on the album to kind of continue that energy. The next song is The War featuring Young Thug, which is another collaboration I was very surprised at considering the contrast in styles between these two artists. It takes a bit of a more mellow turn than the first two tracks I Lied and ISIS did, as those were very hyper aggressive, very angry within the vocals of Joyner and Logic. This one is a bit more relaxed. There's a nice, smooth acoustic guitar sample over the beat. Joyner actually sings on this, and I've never been a fan of Joyner singing, but he pulls it off pretty well. He does sound a bit like Ty Dolla $ign, but I'd say that there's enough differences between their two styles that I wouldn't exactly say he's copying his style. I could definitely see the resemblance, but I think Joyner pulls it off in a pretty well way. It sounds very melodic, it sounds very beautiful and crisp on the beat. It seems like in this track he's talking a bit about how he's in this relationship that he feels like there's a lot of unnecessary conflict, almost as if he's going to war. And he says some interesting things in his verse that are kind of funny, like, I don't need much but a badass bitch and a Netflix password. As well as this little set of bars where he says, she a daddy's girl like Regina. I paid my dues. I ain't gonna lose. I hit him with the hand, the Debo. All you birds is Danny DeVito. I'm a die a legend like Dan Marino. Of course, referring to the football player. Now, I think that a lot of lines in this verse are pretty funny, pretty clever. Young Thug, although I can't particularly understand what he's saying looking at the lyrics here, I like a lot of it. There's a nice reference to Prodigy in this of Mobb Deep saying R.I.P. Prodigy. He does go along with the verse about how he's given everything to this girl, yet there's still all these conflicts, and he just feels like he needs to get out of it before he's going to war, because that's kind of what he feels like is happening in their relationship currently. So in the bridge of this, Joyner also kind of indicates that he feels like this girl that he's in a relationship with isn't allowing him to be himself, saying, all my life I just want to be me, babe. All my life I just want to be free. I said all them nights spent together, we would stay up till forever. You act like you don't remember, but I do. Basically saying that I guess he didn't expect the relationship to take this turn, but he feels like he's very much trapped in it. So I did like the lyrical content of this. I did like the vibe and aesthetic of it, despite it being very different from Joyner's previous styles that we've seen him use on tracks. Now, after this is kind of where the album takes a very bad dip, and there's not really much to say about it because it seems like Joyner doesn't have much to say either in a lot of these songs, such as I Love, which I'm still not entirely sure what this song is about. It's kind of just rap braggadocio, but without any of the clever lyrical statements to make it up. There's not really much in way of a clever metaphor or a simile or a double entendre or an analogy of any sorts. And on top of that, his singing on the chorus where he's like, I love, I la 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 la, I love. It sounds obnoxious as fuck, I'm gonna be real. Obnoxious as fuck. I don't understand why he couldn't sing on this the way he just did on that track with Young Thug. I mean, clearly he's shown he could be a better singer, but it's just not really showing here. The only thing I would say that kind of is a good bar in this is all of you people gonna bleed. Guess it's that time of the month. But even that, I think, has a little bit of corniness to it. There's really not much that he's saying there. It's kind of just rap braggadocio, and there's nothing to really back it up within the track. Or sometimes he'll try to say something that, like, I guess was meant to be a clever bar, but it clearly isn't like completed. Like for example, he says, "I want to be like Hove. I'm living La Vida Loc." Not even really finishing the word, I guess to rhyme it, but it seems like a weird choice of words. But then he says, "They just want to ride my wave. They ain't never seen my boat," which maybe he's saying like someone can't be in his wave, or I feel like it's kind of contradictory because it's almost like he's saying his own wave is so small that no one is even recognizing him because he's not good enough as an artist. I don't know. It just seems like it's a very half-assed bar, and there's many of those throughout these tracks, as well as future tracks on this project where he's not saying much. The next track, Devil's Work, is kind of a bit of a surge back up in the quality of the album because the beat is nicer. We see Joyner taking this approach of a lyrical, thematic story which, as I said before, he tends to do very well, but I wouldn't say this is one of his better ones. This one has a lot to do with questioning why God or the devil would take certain people from our lives, like certain celebrities that, in Joyner's mind, have done nothing wrong, but there seems to be a bit of a contradiction in some of the celebrities he says. Like, he talks about wanting XXXTentacion back and Michael Jackson, but that God should take R. Kelly, which seems a bit weird because I don't know if Joyner is really up on the news, but there were a lot of, sayings going around of Michael Jackson molesting children, also of XXXTentacion trying to abuse people, such as his pregnant girlfriend, and he mentions that a few times in his music. So I just find it to be a bit contradictory, despite I think the initial sentiment of the song being from a good place with good intentions. He does have some good lines in here, I will admit that. Like, they say I'm on the wrong train, I know I'm on the right track. Or he also says, watching people follow trends, like Simon Says. I thought that was actually kind of clever. It also ends in a bit of a chilling way, saying, took my mans from me, that forever hurts, but putting the blame on you, that never work. I know this ain't your fault, it's the devil's work. As saying, like, he doesn't want to contradict God or go against what God is saying. He knows that the devil is doing evil things, which I guess if you are religious, this song might mean a bit more to you. I still found it to be pretty interesting, despite, again, some of the lyrics seeming a bit contradictory towards what Joyner was trying to convey about taking certain people from our lives and certain people dying too young when they didn't deserve it, when they lived good lives, because it seems like he's advocating for some people that maybe made some mistakes that were kind of disturbing, to say the least. The next song, Lotto, is one that really confuses me because, again, it seems like Joyner is trying to come at us with some rap braggadocio about how much money he's making and where he is in the game now, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot of skill to back it up. Certainly nice flows, but not really a lot of lyrical skills. It kind of reminds me of that Logic song with Gucci Mane, Icy, where Logic just keeps saying, he's like, I got a lot of money, more than I need. I rap and make money. I got that money. I'm making that money. You ain't got money? Well, I got money. And it's kind of just like that. Like, there's not really anything to back it up. Like, even in verse 2, he's saying, I got a little check that I cashed out, A. Credit card maxed out, A. I get lit, then I act out. I don't want to do it, but I blacked out. They say I need to be safe. I think I need to be straight. Fix your vibes. You need to be laced, which is kind of disturbing. You just need God, or you need to meet Mace. I left my bitch. Maybe we just need space. I got gunners like Chris. I got brothers like Tips, like Breezy. I got stunners like Wayne, like BG. I got a hood bitch all about the bread. Like, it just seems like it's Joyner just saying what he has, but not really going any further in depth with it. Like, I don't really think we need this song. And what does this have to do with ADHD? Isn't the whole concept of this from the intro about ADHD? I don't really see what this has to do with it, or how a lot of these songs really connect with that theme. Like, I mean, maybe the theme of this album is because he has ADHD, a lot of it doesn't connect, but I feel like there'd still be a better way to pull off that kind of concept than, this kind of lazy pen game here. There are two other songs on this album that come shortly after Lotto in this track listing that I actually did like the sound of it, but again, I felt like Joyner didn't really say anything on here. One of them is Finally, featuring Chris Brown, where, again, Joyner's singing is kind of dreadful. I don't know why he can't just pull off the lower register vocals that he did when he was singing The War with Young Thug. Here it sounds like he's trying to, I don't know, maybe impersonate Chris Brown in like an obnoxious way. But Chris Brown sounds pretty good on it. The actual beat sounds good. I think the incentive of the song being about freedom is very nice, and the beat definitely gives that feel. But again, I can't really tell what Joyner is trying to be free from, because I feel like he's changing his mind a lot lyrically in the track. Like, at first I thought it was about a girl, then it seemed like it was about, I guess, people criticizing him. It just seems like it's all over the place conceptually. And again, I don't know if this is supposed to feed into the theme of him having ADHD, but I feel like it's not about ADHD regardless. I think he just wasn't focused on writing this song. The same with 10 Bands featuring Timberland, which is an excellent Timberland beat, but kind of a total waste to give to Joyner because he really doesn't say anything on it. It's just kind of riffing through the track with, yes, some catchy flows, but catchy flows that don't really convey anything. There's another two songs that come later in this track listing called Revenge and ADHD, which both sound like awful emo rap copies. I don't know, one of them has like a very low voice kind of delivery where Joyner sounds depressed, but like a lazy kind of depressed, not even like a artistically conveying one in a sense. I just didn't really like this track very much. As well as ADHD, where it sounds like he's trying to sing like Little Peep or XXX or Juice World, but he doesn't pull it off as well vocally. And again, this song, despite being titled ADHD, really doesn't seem to say a lot about ADHD. I'll pull up the lyrics here just to show you guys. Like, there's even a part where he says, "And I've been this way since day one. I don't need no medication. I don't need no drugs. Or maybe I'm different, and maybe my ADHD got me tripping, and maybe I'm just everything that you missing." Which, granted, I think that ADHD has some positives to it, and I think that it's a kind of intelligence that can benefit people in some ways. But if it's affecting the way that you're functioning daily, and a doctor is recommending you take medication, you probably should do that. I think that he's conveying this message here that it should be annoyed, and he seems very frustrated in the song, and it seems like he'd be less frustrated if he was taking the medication he's prescribed to take. So really, I wouldn't say that a lot of the frustration in the song is from him having HD. I think it's from him not treating it properly. But it's not even like he really talks about facts about ADHD. It just kind of seems like a lazily written perspective on the whole thing. I mean, the reason he could not want to take medication is because he's got this crackhead doctor that we've exhibited in the first intro skit of this album, which he comes back later in the skit called Comprehensive Evaluation, where I swear to God, I'm not making this up. The doctor, quote unquote, recommends that he takes crack cocaine or that he has lean in his backpack or something so that he can take that, which that's not a proper ADHD drug. Like maybe like something like Adderall or something would be better. I just at this point don't believe any of this doctor's credibility. So I don't think the fault is in not taking medication, Joyner. I think the fault is in you should really look into getting a real doctor. Like check if this man has a degree in psychology. Please check if this man has a degree in anything. Just background check this man. I mean, he's giving you cocaine and lean. Like he's out of his fucking mind, clearly. I would argue this guy's crazier than the doctor from Tyler the Creator's Bastard. I think that a saving grace of this album kind of maybe the last two tracks, which are Will and Broken Stupid. Will is a song that gives a lot of shout outs to Will Smith. Joyner talks about how he is a influence for him, especially because Will Smith will say that you should put a brick down every day to eventually build a house, but don't rush into building that house. Place each brick perfectly. And I think that it is a very good incentive. I like the perspective of track of having good role models. That doesn't really stop a lot of these lines from being kind of cheesy. Like I like the iRobot one, like they don't have control of me. I am not iRobot, which is pretty funny. And again, a Will Smith movie. But some of them, like all you rappers are telling shark tales, just seem like a real stretch of a good kind of metaphor or play on words or something. So I think maybe, although the incentive's good, this one could have gone back to the drawing board or back to the pen and pad. Broken Stupid actually shows Joyner talking about how he came up in the game in a very respectable way, in a very lyrical way, in a very provoking way, and one that's actually interesting and conveys a message of his growth. The people that he associated with then, the people that he's associated with now. There's a nice soul sample on the beat. I just wish that more of this was on the album, because at this point, after hearing so many songs of lyrical nothingness and nonsense and just filler, I'm just not even that interested in Joyner's story at this point. I think on this album, Joyner Lucas does display that he has a lot of skills as a rapper, as far as like flows go, but I think that he's showing now more than ever that maybe his pen game is getting a bit weaker, or he's at least running out of things to say, because this album seems all over the place. It doesn't seem to really convey any message about what ADHD actually is in a fascinating way, and there's just too many songs that are filler and are just go line for line without anything in terms of a bar, in terms of creative lyricism. I just wish that he spent a bit more time writing it and spent a bit more time thinking about the concept of the album itself. I'm going to rate this one overall 2.5 cups of lean, because apparently lean, you know what I mean? Because apparently this is ADHD medicine according to Joyner's doctor. If your doctor tells you to take lean, please get a new one. Don't listen to this Joyner Lucas album. I really hope next time he comes through with something with a better conveying message and better lyrical tones and topics. But, you know, he remains with some potential. I'm excited to see what Joyner does next. Please subscribe to my channel. Follow my Instagram account where I'll be reviewing different singles that come out. And that's it.